They typically say reality TV is full of shocks, but nothing could have prepared fans for what Jock just dropped on Kirk Frost in a private late-night conversation that was secretly captured and promptly aired. Jock's voice was quivering with anxiety as he saw Kirk selling drugs to a fellow cast member, displaying a side of Kirk that no one anticipated. Given these alarming facts, the network is reportedly considering yanking Kirk off Love and Hip Hop Atlanta entirely. Fans are outraged that a beloved musician could have such a hidden life, and social media has erupted. With Cager Kirk identified and a ladle shut down, the family was divided, with close friends scrambling to protect Kirk while others question how long he's been hiding the truth, amid rumors of legal threats and cast boycotts. It is clear that Love and Hip Hop will never be the same. Stay tuned, for this is simply the beginning of a story that is both terrible and exhilarating. On a hot Atlanta night, he'd appeared at Kirk Frost's penthouse dressed as a casual catch-up jock, having texted Kirk earlier to express his want to explore a potential business possibility. Kirk, ever the kind host, greeted his longtime friend. With a drink and a warm smile, the two sat on plush leather chairs overlooking the city's skyline, memories of their early days in the music scene flowing between them. However, Jock's true objective stayed hidden in his pocket. "You've been spinning, Kirk," Jock said softly, his voice laced with fear. Kirk's face furrowed. "What are you talking about?" he answered when his tone lacked confidence, so Jock pressed on. "I am chatting." Kirk's face paled, his fingers trembling over the glass as he opened his lips to refute, but Jock held out his phone. "Listen to this," he murmured. Kirk froze when Jock pressed play. The soothing murmur of Kirk's voice filled the room as he admitted to giving a person pills. Castmate Kirk's eyes widened as he realized that his own words had been recorded without his knowledge. The armed Jock saw his response. "My followers are stunned," Jock mumbled. As Jock's YouTube account broadcasted the footage seconds later, alerts flew throughout social media. Viewers who had always admired Kirk's commitment to family and community were shaken by the news, prompting remarks such as, "How could he conceal this?" The family had separated. Huddle would never be the same. Producers rushed to assess the damage, their phones lit up with panicky calls from backstage at the studio. Mona Scott in an emergency meeting, network executives, legal experts, and production chiefs debated Kirk's fate. "Do we suspend him pending an investigation?" asked one executive. Another said, "If we remove him now, ratings would climb but credibility will suffer." Mona's gaze shifted to the massive display showing Jock's film. Kirk's expression stayed on screen, eyes tormented by the decision. Meanwhile, Rashidita discovered the occurrence via a late-night phone alert and stared at her screen in surprise. Rashida wrote furiously, "This can't be genuine." Bambi responded seconds later, "We need to meet since this impacts all of us." Within minutes, the cord and symbol had gathered in a hidden trailer, brows pinched with fear, as press trucks besieged Kirk's gorgeous home, spotlights and microphones awaiting him when he wished to address the public. Inside, Kirk walked, replaying Jock's video in his brain, while his wife Tiffany sat at the end of the corridor, her laptop open to her own social media feed, and tears glistened in her eyes as she read through the dreadful news. Kirk Frost's secret life exposed a star under the influence. Tiffany rose and approached Kirk, wrapping her arms around him. Each tale seemed like a betrayal that went deeper than any private conversation. "We'll get through this," she whispered, her voice quivering. Kirk sank into her arms, with the weight of his deeds tumbling down. He thought of his children, the ideals he had taught on TV, and the trust he had earned with followers, all of which now threatened to crumble with producers looming. Kirk consented to a quick on-camera speech. The team convened in his living room, lighting harsh and obtrusive. Kirk stepped before the cameras, shoulders bent. He cleared his throat. "I've made horrible errors," he said, his voice cracking. "I've struggled in quiet, and I know it's caused pain for my family, friends, and fans." But before he could continue, Jock's words remained in his mind, reminding him that a raw confession would not suffice. Kirk fled to a rehabilitation center outside the city's surveillance cameras the next morning. witnessed his arrival, a basic tracksuit replacing his usual elegant attire, the sterile facilities a stark contrast to his opulent home. A counselor greeted him, putting him through intake and handing him a journal. Write what you can't. And Rashida, a harsh reminder of the odyssey that had transpired. Cameras rolled as Mona Scott welcomed the live audience. Millions watching at home. Jock spoke first voice solid tonight. We confronted truth, forgiveness, and the power of second chances were the words that weighed heavily in the air as the actors sat down. When Jock showed a footage of them grappling with devotion, treachery, and hope. Kirk's early confession, the studio went quiet. Spectators at home watched Kirk's face twist. Bambi dabbed at her embarrassment after admitting his sins on stage. While Yandy placed a palm to her lips, supporters are startled at the sheer vulnerability displayed to millions. The video then turned to images of Kirk breaking down in group therapy, tears streaming freely as he scribbled in journal, "I am prepared to rebuild." A silence descended over the set. Jock addressed the elephant in the room, Kirk's absence. Kirk chose his healing journey over. Tonight's stage, Jock said gently, but his voice has arrived, and he will join us later. At that point, pre-recorded, Kirk's address at the rehab graduation was shown, in which he talked about responsibility and community promise. To give back to those suffering as he once did, the genuineness in his tone softened even the most critical as the camera shifted to Bambi. Rashida's voice quivered. She gave a touching comment. "I've known Kirk longer than most of his relatives. His acts wounded me, but his quest for sobriety motivates me." Bambi nodded alongside. "We have to protect each other because addiction is an illness, not a moral flaw. Tonight, we choose compassion." The family was left split in public opinion, but on stage, they stood unified in support, and the atmosphere changed. When Mona Scott announced a surprise visit by the unknown cast member who reportedly took narcotics from Kirk, approaching the stage under strong lighting, emotions ran high as they talked with calm determination. "Kirk and I made errors. I accept responsibility for my role, and I'm also in rehabilitation." Confession surprised onlookers, many admiring the fortitude to confess on live television. Social media erupted with comments like "Genuine power is in embracing your narrative," and "This is serious talk." Mona disclosed an unexpected twist. They had agreed to allow Kirk address the reunion via live video. The screen behind the cast flickered and Kirk's face became pale. But with sincere eyes and a shaky voice, he started, "I'm sorry I harmed you all. Violated your trust every day. I'm attempting to be better for my family, friends, and fans that trusted in me." Kirk hesitated as emotion seized him. Tears glistened beneath the studio lights. Fans were stunned to see him tear down again, but many believed the moment rang true. Jock bowed and answered, "We forgive you, brother. Your experience shows us all that no one is immune to adversity. Recovery is possible." The crowd applauded. The sponsors who had paused endorsements carefully resumed their support, understanding the good message, a sportswear brand. "We support Kirk on his quest to health." While a community charity announced a renewal cooperation for addiction awareness initiatives while the reunion progressed, cast members commented on their Spice recounted a tale of assisting a buddy through addiction, almost fainting in tears. Yandy talked on the necessity of mental health services in urban settings, with each narrative being a tapestry of empathy that offset the initial fury. Viewers were reminded that behind dramatic headlines are actual people, face vulnerability, and require compassion. But just when the tone seemed completely redemptive, producers dropped another. An uncovered film from Kirk's recent family gathering shows him at a charity occasion sliding a little vial. The footage ran quietly on the screen until Joss's voice was tainted. With incredulity, requested Kirk to explain. Kirk's face grew ashen, and he took a long breath and stated, "I slipped and panicked in front of the cameras." The news sent shockwaves through the studio. The family was once again separated. Was this whether it was a true relapse or a misunderstanding? The response on social media was fast and vicious, with some fans crying foul, accusing Kirk of fabricating the mistake to stretch his tail. Hashtags like "Sarah Rehab Redux" and "Avoid a reality TV premise" whole trended, and others offered pity. One error cannot erase months of the actors sat in startled silence, wondering whether to unite with Kirk or separate themselves once more completely. Lean forward, homosexual, compassionate, but firm addiction is a lifetime struggle, he added. Relapse is a normal aspect of rehabilitation for many people. The important thing is what you do. Next, Kirk nodded, his voice quivering. I'm ashamed, but I won't give up. I'll return. Any assistance I've misplaced. The studio crowd gave the hesitant ovation, split between support, the heavy weight of anticipation in group therapy. That afternoon, Kirk sat in a circle with other patients, one by one, and they shared their experiences, include a professional accountant who lost everything to drugs and a stay-at-home father whose addiction almost wrecked his when Kirk's time came. He was a youngster who had lost friends to overdoses. Remember the night Jock revealed him, tears falling down his face. I felt like a phony, he admitted. I betrayed my own tale. The room was quiet, then filled with supportive claps. Followers are stunned by his honesty, leaving watchers at home. Later that day, Kirk's wife Tiffany paid a visit and wondered whether this raw moment would convert into long-term transformation. With their 2 children in tow, cameras filmed the poignant reunion as Kirk knelt on the tiled floor cuddling kids hold each other firmly and say, "We love you, Daddy." Messages brought comfort, but also a sting of regret. Tiffany's eyes were filled with tears, and he was concerned that his actions had left them damaged. Hoping that this moment wasn't simply another stage scenario for television, but the true turning point in Kirk's life. As news spread about Kirk's improvement, surprising supporters emerged, including one unknown cast member who had received medicines. Kirk sent a letter requesting solitude and expressing their own hardship. "I hope we can both heal," they said. This act astonished the cast and fans alike, an olive branch in a battle of treachery. Social media lit up with applause. Forgiveness defeats hatred since they are both human, yet many questioned if their reunion was real. Attempted to repair the show's image, while Joke organized a private sit-down interview with Kirk's mother. Margaret Frost appeared on a prominent entertainment news program in the emotional episode she described Kirk's early struggle with attention and how she worried he'd seek consolation in drugs. He needed to feel accepted, she said, her voice quivering. "We tried to lead him, but he pushed us away." Viewers were struck by her vulnerability, yet others condemned the family for exposing. Producers seized on the enthusiasm by recording a surprise visitation that Kirk was led to. On the set of Rashida and Bambi's community outreach event, the scene began with Kirk coming out of a vehicle. Rashida, hailed by applauding volunteers, hugged him and said, "We're in this together." Bambi gave Kirk a stack of care parcels branded Hope Kits. The act suggested togetherness, but was embarrassing. Glances and strained grins suggested that trust had not yet been entirely restored at the recovery facility. Kirk experienced an unexpected setback on a weekend pass. He went to a friend's party and discovered, overcome by previous triggers, he retreated away to a lonely corner heart. Kirk shook his hand as memories of a pill bottle in his pocket and a buddy providing him comfort came flooding back. He glanced at the tablets in his hand. Panic surged. This was the moment of truth. With a long, shaking breath, he flung the pills away, smashing them beneath his heel. In that moment, Kirk experienced recovery. Would-be battle waged minute by moment. Word of Kirk's near relapse got to a competing site, which released screenshots. The caption on a social media image depicting Kirk at the party stated, "Kirk Frost almost back on drugs." The cast and fans reacted in some remarks. Some urged he be permanently removed from the program. Others swarmed around him, cheering his rejection at the last second. Was left conflicted once again, caught between approving his battle and dreading another collapse on the eve of the rehab stint. Kirk gave an impromptu statement at the graduation ceremony, a little occasion celebrating the conclusion of the detox days. He stood in a group of recovered addicts, their families, and a few cast members were brought in for Kirk's voice faltered as he talked about responsibility and sorrow. "I nearly lost myself again," he said, "but now I'm standing here because I chose life, and the crowd rose in a standing ovation, many wiping away tears. Despite the acclaim, others questioned if the cameras were more present than Kirk's actual conviction that night. Kirk went to his room and discovered a message slid under the door from Jock. "We're proud of you, Kirk. Keep fighting." Pinning the letter on the wall near his diary, the simple act grounded him. Evidence that friendship might transcend public turmoil. When Kirk lay down, tiredness pulled at his limbs, yet a calm resolve blazed in his breast. He closed his eyes. He murmured, "This time, I will not disappoint you." Part 2 concludes here, and Part 3 will dive into the cast's ultimate reaction on the reunion stage and Kirk's victory or defeat in the eyes of the world when the day of the reunion approached. Under strong studio lights and an atmosphere of expectation, Kirk's vacant chair sat between Jock. "The future," Tiffany remarked quietly. "We're not erasing the past, but we're choosing love over fear." Their children danced around the room, laughter ringing. Kirk saw tears well up in his eyes as he leaned against walls that had absorbed far too much strain. Glad for this reminder of what recovery genuinely meant, recovering joy. Jock paused on set as the cast prepared for a unique crossover event with another city's love and hip-hop franchise. Before delivering the sheets to Mona, "I'm still concerned about Kirk," he said. Mona agreed and said, "We'll assist him, but I need you to trust the process." Jock breathed. "I want Kirk back, not merely as a warning story." Bambi continued, "We've demonstrated forgiveness now. Let us demonstrate how second chances work." They explored methods to incorporate Kirk's in the crossover episode planning segments. Cast members shared personal tales of recovery. Despite hardship, social media erupted with excitement for the crossing. Hashtags like Alhuminsert and Our Rehab Reality trended with Uriam's calls. Google searches for resources to help addiction treatment surged, having a concrete influence beyond television. Kirk's local NGOs reported an unanticipated spike in inquiries and volunteer signups after the article inspired community action. Twist, a famous addiction awareness nonprofit, approached the network for collaboration, promising to develop a Kirk Mona Embrace the Brief public service announcement segment, viewing it as a chance to bridge. During these events, Kirk got an unexpected visit from the Kirk gazed at an anonymous cast member who had previously gotten medications from him as they met in a quiet conference room. "I'm sorry for dragging you into my darkness," he continued. With shaky voice, the other cast member put a hand on Kirk's shoulder. "We both made errors," they said. "I needed assistance and you grabbed for the wrong thing, but now we can help one another. Others heal." They decided to co-host a special part on the program examining the reality of peer pressure. Kirk took up a new pastime as part of his rehabilitation. It is important to seek sober assistance. Woodworking cameras caught him sanding rough boards into smooth planks. Focus absolute, the patient meticulous task became a symbol for his path. Behind rugged exteriors come magnificent masterpieces. He created a little wooden box. Inside, he put the message Jock had given him during rehab: "We stand with you." When he handed the package to Jock on set, he grinned and held it to his chest. "Thank you for reminding me to keep creating the scene," broadcast in a short vignette named Wood and Will Fast, becoming one of the series' most viewed clips. But not all threats were internal. A tabloid published claims that Kirk's rehab center had dishonest procedures, stating that patients were pushed to perform on camera. The blog contained, despite unclear photographs and anonymous remarks, Kirk and the network quickly released statements disputing the charges. The director of Rehab Cent invited an outside audit, and fans came to Kirk's defense, with RI Rehab trending. Supporters shared photographs holding banners that stated, "I am recovering." The debate demonstrated how swiftly truth and hearsay intersect on reality TV, requiring Kirk to fight not just his own issues but also the court of. In the midst of these storms, Tiffany started writing a biography about their family. Journey journalists sought interviews intrigued to the human interest element. Tiffany hesitated, fearing more scrutiny, but eventually viewed it as an opportunity to express optimism. Passages published on a prominent site reported late-night chats with Kirk and her own battles with dread. Readers replied with notes of support complimenting her bravery and the events that sealed their friendship. By sharing their own tales, the memoir project added to Kirk's recovery story, strengthening the message that healing covers the whole family as the season advanced toward its end. Producers anticipated a climax episode called Homecoming, in which Kirk would return to his penthouse for a fresh, unscripted reflection. The teaser showed Kirk standing alone on the balcony where Jock had originally exposed him, staring out over the metropolis he once commanded. His voice inquired, "Can I recover my throne, or is this skyline too full of shadows?" The query resonated, capturing the apprehension of his prospective audience as they prepared for a conclusion. It promised resolution conflict and probably the clearest answer yet to whether atonement is possible on camera. Kirk's journey has been one of turmoil and regeneration in the months following Jock's original disclosure. Despite a milestone aired to millions, the family remains split between hope, fear, the cast of Unity, and skepticism, and the audience between despite empathy and skepticism. Kirk and skepticism. Monica Scott moved the spotlight to Kirk's community impact video. Kirk delivered scholarships, mentored youths, and volunteered at treatment clinics during those occasions. Contrasted strikingly with the Relapse footage, creating a complicated portrayal of a man dealing with his issues. Fans watched, some hailed his charity, but others questioned if good actions could atone for emotional relapses. Apex came when Kirk went onto the stage in person, hailed by Jack and Rashida. He wore a plain shirt and pants. Far from his typical fashionable outfit, Kirk approached the podium and addressed the live crowd, saying, "I'm not flawless." Tears ran down his cheeks as Jock held him rough. Many viewers were brought to tears by the exhibition of vulnerability. Both casters and commentators agreed that the reunion had beyond ordinary reality. Drama reviewers on entertainment websites remarked that the program offered a beautiful tale about addiction, salvation, and human fragility. Some welcomed the filmmakers' brave decision to release Relapse video, claiming that it encouraged honest. As the reunion show came to an end, some denounced the exploitation of Kirk's suffering for ratings. In conclusion, Mona Scott reflected on how reality TV parallels real life, with all of its successes and failures. Tonight, we saw a man struggle with addiction, the strength of community, and the lasting impact of forgiveness. The live crowd erupted in a standing ovation, while spectators from home poured the comments, "Nicest reunion ever. This is why I watch an addiction awareness program." After the credits, Kirk and Jock retired to a separate room. Jock stared at Kirk. "You did it," he whispered quietly, with real delight. Kirk attempted a tired grin. "It's for my children, you, and everyone who believed in me." Jockey clutched his. "Hey, this is your new chapter." But Kirk exited the studio that night alone. Paparazzo took a picture of him studying his reflection in a vehicle window, eyes haunted by the flashbulb. Fans wondered whether Kirk would be able to continue this new chapter when the cameras were turned off. Would the demands of fame push him back into the darkness? The reunion had brought closure and Clifford's an equal. Before leaving the love and hip-hop scene permanently transformed in Part 4, we'll look at Kirk's life. Beyond the limelight, the ripple effects on his family, and if reality television can actually build long-term mending or merely spin another cycle of dramatic redemption the morning after. Kirk awakened to a whirlwind of alerts, messages of support, and uncertainty colliding in his inbox. Fans are surprised by his relapse but thrilled by his comeback. Emotions ran hot as some admired his fortitude while others cautioned that a mistake might erase months of development. Kirk read through the comments, his pulse thumping with a combination of pride and terror. The family was left split. Tiffany remained his strong anchor, although she too struggled with uncertainty. His children, too young to realize the full magnitude, noticed the tension in their house. Kirk determined to himself later that day. Producers convened in the network headquarters to address the ramifications. This chapter would not define his career. They evaluated ratings, social media data, and sponsor input from one executive. "We've never seen this level of participation before, but at what cost?" Another cautioned, "If Kirk stumbles again, we risk legal action, liability, and public outcry." The choice weighed hard. Should they grant Kirk a permanent mentoring or restrict his screen time until he proved continuous abstinence? Mona Scott advocated for narrative integrity, claiming that the show's authenticity was based on actual human in the end. They agreed on a conditional plan in which Kirk would appear regularly described publicly, with explicit disclaimers and help resources provided on the screen. Meanwhile, Kirk returned to the treatment clinic for an intense outpatient program, which cameras followed him through. Group sessions, one-on-one therapy, and support group meetings. At one heated moment, Kirk addressed his sponsor in a private room. "I'm tired of walking this tightrope," he acknowledged, voice cracking. "Every day feels like a battle between who I was and who I want." His sponsor kindly said, "That fight never ends, but each step forward strengthens your determination." The vulnerability connected with viewers, many of whom acknowledged to their own struggles. A viewer commented, "Kirk's path seems like mine. Addiction is a monster, does not vanish overnight." At home, Tiffany arranged the healing ritual for the family's benefit, collected images of better times, diary writings of thankfulness, and a playlist of cheery tunes that used to characterize their lives together. In the living room, they played soothing music as a family, exchanging dreams for